All right, we are live. Sunny days in Flushing. The Mets. It is Wednesday, July 31st. The Mets have finished the series of the Minnesota Twins. They won
Yes,
two out
sir.
of three. Good vibes in Mets land for sure. But we're going to rewind a little because we weren't able to go live on the deadline. Um, we're going to talk a little about the deadline, the acquisitions, and I think we should get into a little bit for a small period of time of who was still out there and ended up not getting traded or did get traded and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So
we'll touch up on it.
to start this out, let's start with the earliest acquisition, Phil Maton, relief pitcher. We got him from the Rays,
The
right?
Rays, yeah, I think it was ended up being cash considerations or a player to be named later, so it could be someone from last year's draft. But no one was traded yet, so I would be inclined to think it's going to be cash
Some of
considerations.
those things do depend on like end of year
Gets
stats.
weird, yeah. We'll
So
see what happens come end of the year, but as of right now, as it stands, it's pretty much nothing. We got a great reliever, or at the very least, a good reliever for basically nothing.
right, right, and he's been real solid for us. I don't even know. I mean, I should knock on wood. Has he even given up a run yet in
I'm
his
not sure. I'm going to pull
outings?
up actually his stats right now on a separate screen. As for the
But he's
Mets,
been he's been exactly
he's
what the
been
Mets
awesome.
needed. The Mets
Yeah,
needed help in the bullpen, obviously, right? They added four bullpen pieces at the deadline in total. And as of right now, I mean, who knows about the other three? But we know we have something solid in Phil Maton. That was the right move, and it was an early move. And good on Stearns to do that because had he waited, I think, any longer to make a move like that, I don't know what it would have if it would have costed more or less, but probably not less. But there would have been definitely a lot more competition. So if you could make those moves earlier, sometimes those are some of the more underrated, better moves of the deadline as opposed to the what you do July 31st or August 1st or now this year was July 30th.
yeah, 100%. Getting him as early as we did was great because this was someone that started the year off pretty rough, and then I guess it was the beginning of June when, at least, what Phil said. He had said that the Rays had fixed something in his mechanics, tweaked a little thing. I guess they closed off his stance or his delivery to the plate a little bit more, and it really helped. And the proof's in the pudding. He has been awesome since then. With the Rays, I think he was like close to a 1 ERA, and with us, he's only allowed one earned run, and I think it's sticks in 2/3 innings. So this is someone that is. He misses a lot of barrels and he can strike out a lot of guys and he doesn't allow a lot of fly balls. So that's something we need in our bullpen, especially with some of these harder throws because he is someone that throws on the softer side. So to kind of pair him with these hard throwers that we got in our bullpen is nice to have. And someone that's proven it here and or has done it while he's been here in New York and probably one of the hardest stretches we've had all season has been key and a great acquisition by David Stearns.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. As time went on, a little closer to the deadline, the Mets added somebody else we're very familiar with, Jesse Winker.
Yeah.
I love Jesse Winker. I've wanted him since he became a Met killer, and like he probably the only
As,
Mets killer that like actually liked Met fans
yeah,
and loved like
probably not.
kind of giving the shit right back. And I know he's got a great relationship with the We Gotta Believe guys over at Barstool, so that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. He was always a good sport about it, and solid like rotational type outfielder. He's gonna get a good amount of playing time here, especially as they've cut DJ
Mm-hmm.
Stewart.
Yeah,
But the right move to make. He's got some power.
100%.
He's shown this year that he's able to steal some bases. He plays solid left field, right field.
He's fine in
Um,
the outfield.
really good clubhouse guy. And I do remember hearing a story about him. I think he told this on We Gotta Believe
Yeah.
that he grew up really hard and not really hard, but he had like three or four older brothers and they used to beat
Yeah.
the shit out of him. And he was telling a story about how all the time one of his older brothers would shut the lights out on him when he was taking a
Yeah.
shower and throw thumbtacks on the floor.
Oh, it's
And
terrible.
so a guy like that, man, like that's who I want in my corner as a Met
Yeah,
fan.
100%.
100%.
100%. And I like him. And he fills a role that we needed sorely. We needed another left handed bat, someone that can platoon out in the outfield because right now what we have is Tyrone Taylor's not an everyday starter. Harrison Bader is, but he does need his days off. He is a little bit injury prone, so he's someone that's going to need his days off. He's never going to play a full 162 games. So, sorry, one second.
And you also not to cut you off here,
Yeah, no.
but Starling Marte is out for the foreseeable future. So
Exactly,
we really needed outfield help. This was like right place, right time. I think it's like 3 years overdue. I wish we had him 3 years ago. Same, I would say, for JD Martinez. But nonetheless, he's here now. He's contributing now. He scored like twice, I think. Or he
definitely
scored like
once, if not
last
twice.
night.
Yeah.
And I want to say he scored in that 15-run
Oh,
first
100%.
game
Yeah,
of the
definitely
series,
scored
so.
that. Definitely scored that night. And yeah, I was just about to get right into that before I started dying right there. But we don't know what's going on with Marte. Oddly enough, bringing up Marte, they did say he expects to start a rehab assignment soon. I don't think they gave a definitive date, and it was kind of like a wishful thinking kind of thing. And we don't really know what we're going to expect out of him at this point. I think at this point, he's definitely not better than Bader. The only one I'd replace him for would be, I guess you could replace him for Gamble, but I'd almost rather replace him for Tyrone Taylor, because I think we need another left-handed bat, someone that is a bit quicker, someone that's a bit more is better defensively, and that's something that Marte in his older ages with those legs starting to give out isn't. He just can't handle the full workload
no world
anymore.
where I'd want Marte here over what Tyrone Taylor's done.
No, yeah,
Right
100%.
now.
So
I think what they'll probably do with him is they'll probably try to rehab him, and they'll keep him down there. And in the event that somebody gets hurt between now and October,
yeah,
he's available, right? And they'll try it. But
yeah.
I don't think anybody currently, maybe other than, like you said, Ben Gamel, other than that, I don't think anyone's losing their job right now to Starling Marte.
No, I don't think so either. And then to get back to Jesse Winker, I mean, he's something that we needed. We needed someone that just would provide some pop in the middle of that order, but also can get on bases. Because a lot of these guys, Vientos was great in the 5-hole, but behind him, there wasn't much else going on. Obviously, Jeff McNeil started to heat up, and that's kind of changed things a bit. But before then, it wasn't much other than Alvarez, but he's been a bit streaky. He had a big injury this year, so you can't expect the world from him right now. So getting someone like Winker to kind of stabilize that lineup and really lengthen it out, because now Alvarez is batting 8th. And with McNeil playing the way he is and Alvarez down at the bottom of the order, this lineup looks 10 times better. And he's not going to play against lefties because he's not great, but against righties, he does a ton of damage. He walks a ton. He knows the strike zone. He does not strike out much, and he's got, like we said, the pop. He's got some pop, and he can run the bases fairly well. So that's something that we definitely needed.
And without looking at his splits, I can't speak to that. But like to me, he seems like a better version of like a Mark Canha. Like to a degree of like
he's what we wanted out of Daniel Vogelbach and DJ Stewart. That's exactly what it was. He has 10. He has 11 home runs this year, and 10 of them are against righties.
Absolutely.
He has an 840 OPS against righties. 390 on base percentage, 450 slugging percentage. So he does his damage against righties. He's not awful against lefties, but he does his damage there.
I also think I thought I heard them say last night on SNY that he's got the most stolen bases of his career.
Yeah, but he has stopped stealing bases since like June. He started going on a stretch where he was getting thrown out a ton. He's not a big base stealer, and he was kind of catching guys off guard at the beginning of the season, and then that started to catch up to him. So he's kind of put the kibosh.
Brandon Nimmo also just last night tied his season high for stolen bases.
Yeah, I mean with the bases being lengthened, extended, it's a little bit skewed, but still. I don't think we're going to see Jesse Winker stealing too many bases, but the option is there. He's not an awful base runner, so he could sneak a stolen base here or there, maybe in a close game.
You want to get into Blackburn or the 3 relievers?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Let's go into Blackburn.
Paul Blackburn, the Mets traded for him. So, not the name. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Like, neither one of us are going to sugarcoat it. We were calling each other all day, constantly refreshing Twitter.
Snell, Flaherty,
right?
We're talking about those guys. Yeah.
Our heads were in the sky, probably a little too high, and the Mets ended up settling here for a back of the rotation guy. But I'll start with this, and you've got more of the analytics, so you could give a much more in depth. But for some of the Mets fans out there that are upset about this, and rightfully so, like I get it. The Mets are winning games; they've completely turned their season around. This group of guys, forget us as the fans, the group of guys in that clubhouse deserved more than a Paul Blackburn at the deadline. And I get that. And I agree with that. But if you look at those big names that were out there, Blake Snell, Tyreek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, none of them moved. The only one that did move was Jack Flaherty. He went to the Dodgers. And from what I heard, and whether this is true or not, but it's been put out by multiple outlets on Twitter, right? Out on Twitter, on WFAN, on the podcast feed, that the Yankees seem to be concerned with his elbow. Now, did the Yankees really just not have the firepower to get the trade done, or did they not want to get rid of Dominguez? Maybe
probably
that's
Spencer Jones, yeah.
Right, maybe Spencer Jones. So maybe that's really what it was. But it's more than one organization saying it. And keep in mind, Jack Flaherty is a guy, and I'm not sitting here like I wouldn't want Jack Flaherty, because I absolutely would, and we could use him. But this is also a guy that kind of caught lightning in a bottle this year, and has never been this. I mean, not since like the second half of like 2019 has he been.
He had a stretch from like 2018 to 2021, where he was
2021. He was already like tapering.
He was
off.
Yeah.
The point is, he's never been this dominant, and who knows how long that continues, and who knows if that continues even into October. So once again, not making excuses, but clearly the prices were ridiculously high, because it wasn't just the Mets. It was the Orioles, right? The Orioles were a team that were absolutely getting starting pitching at the deadline, and they ended up with Trevor Rogers, which, in our opinion, is exactly, and that's basically a Tyler McGill, or a David Peterson, right? Maybe a step above. And you look at what the Padres just did; they gave away whatever they had left to get Tanner Scott, and Tanner Scott's a fantastic player right now, but the prices were ridiculously high this deadline, and I just want to get that into Mets fans' heads, that not that we're prospect hugging, but at the same rate, you cannot mortgage your future on a rental piece, or not when there's this much indecision within the season, not when we're fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah, what it comes down to, I mean, obviously we all wanted the bigger piece, myself included, and I do like Paul Blackburn. I think he's going to be something of a reclamation project here for David Stearns. I think this is someone that they probably did a ton of research and dove through the analytics and found someone that they think they can tweak something on and really bring him up to that next level, where he's more of a back end starter now, but they think they could raise him up to more of a mid rotation type player. And hopefully so, because he does have some good pitches. He does stabilize this rotation. Whereas at the back end of the rotation, we were up and down. We might get that really good start, but we also get those pitfalls of really bad starts that Peterson and McGill were really allowing. And, at the end of the day, it was just impossible to get one of these top tier starters without giving up an immense amount of talent. Now, like you just brought up Trevor Rogers from the Marlins, who went to the Orioles. What the Orioles had to give up for him was insane. And we got someone of similar caliber, maybe slightly better than Trevor Rogers, for much less. What it comes down to at the end of the day is the Mets, of the 86 prospects that they traded, the highest prospect in that list at the top of the 86 that were traded was 35. We traded that's the best prospect we traded of the 86, which is insane. So clearly Stearns had a fine line to walk, where it was essentially price to performance. And he was trying to find guys that were going to perform and better this team at the best price possible. And that's what he did. He really did a good job of walking that line. Whereas in the past, we've seen guys just we threw out prospects. We threw out prospects for basically nothing, like Colin Holderman for Daniel Vogelbach, for example. That was an awful and asinine trade. We got nothing in return, and we gave up a reliever who's now a high leverage reliever for Pittsburgh and going to be in their bullpen for years. We did none of that this offseason. We gave up guys that were maybe going to make it here. Probably not. We're probably going to eventually have to move on or move on via trade or Rule 5 draft. So now to get back into Blackburn, like I said, he's just someone that's going to stabilize this rotation. He's not gonna blow the doors off any teams, but he's gonna be able to keep us close and get the game to the bullpen with either a lead in hand or close enough where the offense can come back. So that's about all you need to know about him.
Stevie Mack, I think I'd speak for Sack here. We agree with you. I think we both would have taken Quantrill.
Cal Quantrill, yeah.
The
But who knows
Rockies
what the Rockies are doing?
the Rockies are a disastrous organization. There's nothing you could do about that. And yeah, we agree. We like the Blackburn move. We just wanted more of a top starter than him, and I agree. But this is what we got, and if Blackburn, like you said, can just at a minimum provide us just like 5 innings, 2 run, like just something steady where like what we can't have is these blow up innings, like what happened today. With Severino.
Yeah.
What's happened in the past with Tyler McGill, with David Peterson, when, they're cruising, they're on cruise control, 4th inning comes out, and a 2-0 ball game turns into a 6-2 ball game. And, you're kind of just like, you're blindsided by that. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen so fast? And so, if Blackburn could provide us a little more than that, then we're in a better position than we were yesterday or 2 days ago.
Exactly. We need someone better than McGill, and that's what we got.
Speaking of McGill and the bullpen, the Mets got 3 other relievers. I'm not even Huascar. Did I say
Huascar, that right?
Barzabon, Ryan Stanek, Tyler Zuber.
Yes.
The only one I've seen pitch so far is Stanek. Did Barzabon pitch today?
No, Barzabon has he just got activated. He was available today, obviously with the kind of set sort of blowout by the Twins today. He did not pitch, but Stanek pitched twice yesterday and then once against the Braves, if I'm not mistaken. And Tyler Zuber was sent down to AAA. And he was more of just an insurance policy, a guy that can be waiting in the wings, that has MLB experience and can be called upon in case of injury or someone melting down and kind of falling apart. So that was kind of an insurance policy move by Stearns. It's not much to talk about. It's just a whatever move, but a move that needed to be made because we needed more MLB ready talent down in AAA that could come up on a whim to be in our bullpen. So it was a move that was necessary. It's just nothing much to talk about there. But the Barzabon and Ryan Stanek moves are two that we can really talk about. Ryan Stanek is someone that has pitched a ton in the postseason with the Astros. He is a flamethrower, and I know his numbers don't look sexy this year, but he is a good pitcher. He's going to go out there. He's going to strike out a ton of guys. He might walk a bit, but he's someone out there that can give you high leverage innings and has a ton of postseason experience, which is something this bullpen definitely needs.
Yeah. Ryan Stanek looked good last night. We had a little scare when Alonso kind of airmailed that ball over his head, and he landed on first base kind of awkwardly. But he shook it off. He was okay. Let that one guy on.
I think it was another. I think he may have allowed another base runner after that, but it was 2/3 of an inning. Yeah. He didn't get out of it. Diaz came in to get the 4-out save, but that was on Alonso. That he would have been out of that inning if it wasn't for Alonso. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, actually, he didn't allow him.
And that's also a product of. That's also a product of, yes, Alonso needed to make that play. That's ridiculous. That's high school shit.
Yeah.
And that's also a product of what's his face? Mendoza being overly cautious and trusting the guys that he knows, right? Mm-hmm. He just met Ryan Stanek, doesn't know much about him. He knows Diaz. He knows he could trust Diaz. He went for the 4-out save.
Shut it down too.
I didn't particularly love that, especially with a lead that we had. We had a 2-run lead. I would have left Stanek out there, but ultimately, like we said, he should have. He really had gotten 3 outs there, and Alonso kind of robbed him of that. So no disappointment there. Hopefully we'll probably see Barzabon probably Friday, I guess. At this
we'll see him soon. We'll see him in Los Angeles, and that's the bell of the ball. That was the biggest trade he made at the deadline. And he's an interesting player. Pretty sure he's 34 years old, and we have him under control until 2029, if I'm not mistaken. So we have him under control for a while, and it's ridiculous. He's a fun one. Yeah, he's a fun one. He's a flame-throwing right-hander too, and he's a big high leverage guy who uses his cutter, sinker, and changeup ball extremely well to get guys out. He's even got a 4-seamer that he throws. It's not as effective, but just for a reference, to dive into the analytics, kind of surface level here. There's a stat Stuff Plus that they use to measure out these pitches, and I think baseline for changeups is around in the mid to high 80s, about 88 Stuff Plus, and his changeup grades out at like 116 Stuff Plus. So it's that much better than the rest of the league. And then the cutter is another one of his out pitches. It's something that he's thrown the most. I don't know exactly how many times he's thrown it or what percentage, but it's something that he's has a 103 average against and a 17.8% swinging strike. So he's someone that's going to miss barrels. He's gonna go and light up the radar gun, and something that we needed at the bottom of the bullpen in high leverage situations. Someone that can mix in different pitches, and someone that's a little bit different than what your Diaz and your Daniel Nunez gives you, which is a four-seam fastball and a slider. He can mix in other pitches and kind of throw these hitters off guard.
They definitely needed this for all the reasons you said, and on top of that, I also spaced out, to be honest with you, so I don't know if you said this or not. I don't think you did. Jose Butto, there is a chance that I put my foot in my mouth the other night saying how long it would take to stretch him back out. Apparently, it might be shorter amount of time than that, and we might see Jose Butto back in the rotation in the next couple of weeks, or possibly in the next week. I don't know.
It's an option.
It's something that's been tossed around quite a bit, so that's why I'm saying it. Like, it's not coming out of nowhere if multiple outlets are talking about it.
Well, Stearns did have his press conference yesterday at 6:45, right before the game, and he did say that for now the plan is to keep Butto in the bullpen. So as of right now, Butto is in the bullpen, but he didn't elaborate past that, saying no, he's not going to the rotation, or yes, he's 100% staying in the bullpen. It was for now. So if need be, he's an arm that we could probably pull into the rotation.
This is also a team
Peterson
that
needs,
you're making a lot of these moves so you could be playing baseball, meaningful baseball, in October.
Yeah.
And, I know as Met fans, we don't get to watch a lot of playoff games, but if you watch your fair share of playoff games, you realize that, starting pitcher, relief pitcher, like those names, those titles become less and less and less significant. And you see starting pitchers coming out of the bullpen in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning to close out games and be a setup man, because you're going to who you trust and you're desperate and it's do or die. And so that's why, like, there is a lot of versatility in this bullpen, a little bit of versatility in this starting rotation. We by no means have the best rotation or the best bullpen, but there is, between the both of them, a lot of versatility, a lot of different things that you can do. And it gives Mendoza a little more freedom come October, if we are lucky enough to be playing October baseball.
Well, I think the big thing for Stearns, there's two things. One, it was not giving up a ton of top-tier talent if need be. But I think if need be, he would have given it up for controllable talent. And what he did give up in this trade deadline, he gave up, aside from Jesse Winker, every other piece is controllable. We have Blackburn for next year. We have Barzabon till 2029. I'm not sure how much longer we have Zuber for. I think it's 2 more years, if I'm not mistaken. And Maton, if I'm not mistaken, we have for another year past this. So that was a big thing for him, getting guys that are controllable and can be a part of this team for at least another year, if not more than that, for time to come. And with that being said, it's also was building this bullpen. Once Senga went down, and once we saw the ridiculous prices of these starting pitchers, it was building out that bullpen and getting creative with it and having the ability to use the bullpen in a myriad of different ways to be able to supplement that that I wouldn't say subpar, but average starting rotation that we have, because we do have an average starting rotation. But come October, like Matt said, guys are used in different ways. Like starting pitchers will pitch out of the pen sometimes. Relievers, you might even get an opener here. But the one thing that we can be certain is the starting rotation shrinks. You're not fielding a 5-man rotation, a 6-man rotation. You're fielding a 3-4-man rotation at most. Right. So this is going to be something where we're not going to have to rely on David Peterson anymore, unless unless a catastrophe happens. But I think if that happens, we're probably not making the playoffs. But knock on wood. But that being said, we're going to rely on the guys we trust. Severino, Minaya, who had an awesome start last night. We'll get into that in a few minutes. And Quintana, who also had an awesome start the first game of the series, which we'll get into in a minute. So these are guys that have gained our trust over the season, especially, Minaya and Quintana, who had some rough stretches and have stabilized. And Sevy, who has gained it from the beginning of the season. Yes, he's had little hiccups here and there, but he's someone that's been very consistent and very good for us.
Well, this is a really important, and we'll start getting into the Twin Series here.
Yeah.
This is, before we get into the scores and everything, this is a really important stretch for Luis Severino, right? Because his entire career, which, if I'm not mistaken, all of it's been in a Yankee uniform, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
we're the first team he's played for other than the Yankees.
So Luis Severino has been a guy that has shown flashes of brilliance. I believe he's got a no-hitter under his belt at some point. He doesn't?
No. You're thinking of
Domingo Germán. Yeah, with a perfect game against the A's. So this is a guy that's been up and down. And, the reluctance from all 29 other MLB teams to give him a deal, nonetheless a long-term deal, is his injuries and his inconsistent pitching. So I think what the Mets need, obviously, but what Severino really needs is to show that he could finish the season strong and that he doesn't fall off and he doesn't run out of gas. And I'm confident he can get there because he's looked real good this year, but he's got to prove it, because if he starts to tail off, not only does that hurt the Mets' chances right now, because especially with the Senga injury, we're looking at Severino like he's our ace, right? Like if we were to play a wild card game tomorrow,
he's getting the ball day one.
I would imagine he's getting the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So
he's getting the ball for game one.
Exactly. So, if you're Sevy, like you have a lot to prove, and this is the period of time to prove it.
Yeah. And Matt nailed it on the head there. And just a quick point before we do get into the Twins series. Nothing to give Stearns his flowers about here, but imagine we were sellers at this deadline. I mean, it had to take Stearns so much restraint not to just be like, fuck it. Let's sell and bring up some prospects and see what we got there, because these guys are going for immense amounts of prospect returns. So for him not to just kind of say, screw it, we did what we could, we're not in the best position with the Senga injury, and sell off. I mean, it's not something to, praise him for, but considering what these guys were getting, it's
Sandy Alderson.
He must have been
never have done this. He would have just stood pat.
No, I mean, Stearns, he must have been sitting there, white knuckling the whole time. Like, damn, I wish we were selling this.
But this is part of being a GM. Like,
no, of course, and
you owe it. Like I said before, you owe it to that locker room. They put their balls out on the table and they turned the entire season around. Yeah. You cannot sit there and just say, it's a seller's market, so I'm going to sell. Like you can't do that. And I had a lot of Mets fans, not Mets fans, but I had a lot of fans outside of the Mets that were telling me like, oh, you guys aren't going to go anywhere. You got to sell. Like, okay, yeah, the odds are that they may not make the playoffs, but like there are also odds for other teams in the wild card race to not make the playoffs. And beyond the guys in the clubhouse, think of the guys you're trying to sign next offseason, right? Like, how are those meetings going to go? Those guys are going to walk in and say, you were in a playoff spot at the deadline and you sold.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's a bad
you should have been buying and you sold. Why would I want to sign a 3-year deal with you? I'd rather go to the Oakland A's, because at least there I know I'm leaving come July. Here, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't like that.
Yep, exactly. It's a bad look, but at Stearns, I'd say with the cards he was dealt, he did a very, very good job.
Yeah, he did a good job. He did knock it out of the park. I mean, I heard someone today.
It was tough too with how much these guys win.
I would give him a B. I would agree with JJ. I think
B plus. I think it's tough. I think it's tough to really knock it out of the park with how much these rentals and other players were going for. I think the only team, sad to say, but the only team that really did knock it out of the park was probably the New York Yankees. And not that
I agree with Jazz Chisholm,
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm, they got a tremendous amount of value. And Mark Leiter Jr. was someone I wanted the Mets to get. They got him for almost nothing. So to get these guys and not have to give up Spencer Jones or Domingo, or not Domingo, Jason, what the fuck's his name?
And I also think
the center fielder, Dominguez. Dominguez.
When you see the Dodgers, I mean, the Dodgers did get Jack Flaherty, but like when you see the Dodgers, they give him a ton, but like when you see the Dodgers not doing as much, like then the prices were just absolutely outrageous. Like I said, all the teams that genuinely needed help in the starting pitching department specifically didn't get it. No one really got it. St. Louis maybe with Eric Fetty, but
who knows? Anyways,
Twin Series.
Let's talk Twin Series.
They win Monday night 15-2. They win Tuesday night 2-0 Today they get blown out 8-3.
8-3.
Getaway day sucks, but ultimately, what are the goals here? Right, the goals are you want to go
Win
2 out of
series.
3. Did the Braves win? I will look that up.
They did win. They
They did win. Wonderful.
They did win, and so did the Diamondbacks.
Oh, wonderful. So are we
Yeah.
out of a playoff spot right now?
No, we are tied for the third wild card spot, and we will be waiting on the Padres game later. And if they lose, there will be a 3-way tie for second and third. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the series, obviously, it sucks to end on a sour note, on a low note, but we did in the Brave series, and then we came out and kicked the Twins' ass in that first game. So that I don't really – I do believe in there is there is that carryover effect when you really win a series well, or you lose a series in an embarrassing fashion that's going to carry over to the next series. But the Mets have shown that they have the goldfish memory. They're going to go out there the next game and play it as it's their record is 0-0. They're going to play it like they're fighting for a wild card spot, which they are every fucking day. So look. Yeah. It sucks to end the series this way, but we went out and we went 2-3 against one of the best teams in the AL. They have the 4th best record in the American League. Yes, it doesn't mean much playing against American League teams because they're not teams that we're competing with for a wild card spot, but still, this is one of the better teams in the MLB. To go out there and beat them 15-2 and then shut them down yesterday, we beat them in dominating fashion 2 out of the 3 games. So that's something to hang your hat on, and that's something to be proud of this team because they showed a lot.
And we need all the wins we can get at this moment because you've got a tough West Coast trip, coming up, and then you come back for a week, and then you're right back on the road, 4 straight against the Padres, 3 against the Diamondbacks. I mean, it's
that's going to be a pivotal series.
It's going to be, it's usually the month of June, right? We always call it the June swoon, right? With the Mets. Yeah. It's going to be a really tough month of August for the Mets, and honestly, for that matter, it's going to be a tough month of September. In the month of September, you've got 7 games against the Phillies, 3 against the Braves, and you end the season in Milwaukee. Like, our whole second half is, with a couple of bad teams sprinkled in, playoff caliber teams. So if the Mets could get through a gauntlet like this and somehow be in a wild card spot come whatever it is, August 4th,
September 1st.
No, I'm saying end of the season. Like, if they could get through August and September and be in a wild card spot, I think this can be a very dangerous team. But this is where we're going to see like who and what they are.
Yeah.
Right? If they 100%. Fall apart, they're the 2019 Mets. Yeah. If they figure it out, they pick it up, could be the 2015 Mets.
Exactly. And that's what you hope for. And you know what? It's weird. The start to August really isn't hard in the sense of the talent we're facing. We have the Angels distance. At first. It's not even the distance because I think with the day off traveling out west, you get that day to kind of adjust. But it's the fact that you're going out west to the Angels, and you're coming back and you're playing the Cardinals
for one game.
And for one game, and then you go to Colorado, and then you go back further out west to Seattle. It's a lot of traveling on these guys. If they can go out, they can. You expect to win the Angels and the Colorado series. You really want to win the Cardinals game because that just gives you another game separation from a team we are fighting with for a wild card spot. I think that's what you look at. You got to beat the Angels, you got to beat the Rockies from there, and you don't have to, but you really, really want to, and it would be phenomenal if they can beat the Cardinals. From there, you can go and lose a series to the Mariners. I'm not saying we want that to happen, but as long as they play competitive baseball against one of the better teams, one of the best teams in the MLB, I think we'll be happy because we're it's at the end of a long road trip and we're playing away. So it's a tough series. So don't be surprised if they go out and lose it. But we want to be competitive. We want to take a game from them, and we want to win overall on this road trip.
For some odd reason, they always have trouble in Colorado. Always. Like, I don't know what it is.
It's weird. When they go to Colorado, it's so weird. Neither team fucking hits. It's so weird. I went to Colorado for a game. They won last year. I think it was like 2-1. I'm like, I wanted to come here and see a game that was like 10-7 and like 6 home runs hit, and I didn't get a single one. But okay, there. We'll see. It'll show what our pitchers have to go out there and pitch against a not good team, but in a ballpark that kind of elevates their offense.
Was that a pun because they're high elevation?
No, it wasn't. I guess it could be.
Yeah, I called you with your pants down. I called you with your pants down.
It wasn't a pun. I swear to God.
It was a pun.
And a God.
Yeah, the 8-3 loss sucks today. Because if I think the outlook on everything, had they just swept the Twins like on their way over to LA, that would have been awesome. But it didn't happen. You were counting on Savvy today. He melted down 3 innings.
It was tough
Nothing
to
you do.
see.
Yeah.
What can you do? Shake it off, forget about it, go out there, pitch better next time out. And a little bit of a weird thing because we've seen this weird stretch with the offense. Like the Mets against the Braves, they had that explosive 7-run inning in the second game when Senga was there. They had that explosive couple innings against Garrett Cole, and then it's been a lot of explosions, like in quick spurts, and they go out and put up a ton of runs, and then they kind of
They slow down.
peter off. They peter off. But you see a lot of promising things. JD Martinez is starting to warm up. I wouldn't call it heating up, but he's warming up. Pete Alonso has been good for the past 10, 15 games. He hasn't been phenomenal. He's been good. Lindor, his numbers are shrinking a little bit, but you see out there today he had a nice single later in the game. He had a home run rob from him in the first inning. So he's someone that's still hitting the ball hard. He's getting a little bit unlucky. That's going to turn around. Nimmo's taking better at bats. And Vientos has been amazing. So to see that,
Jeff
and
McNeil's
Jeff
turned the
McNeil
season
too.
around a little bit.
Jeff McNeil's turned the season around a ton. So to see that happen, things are going to start bouncing our way. We're going to start seeing some of these balls that are getting hit right at guys. They're going to find a hole. Some of these dribblers are going to just be out of the reach of their gloves, and we're going to start putting up some more consistent run production soon. I can see it. I can smell it. I can feel it. This team is going to have a big road trip, and right when you need one too. That takes you into the middle of August.
I am pretty shot from today.
Yeah.
How much more do we have? Do we have anything we haven't touched on?
Nothing really else to
days?
talk about. The only thing that we could talk about is Paul Blackburn will be pitching Friday. We will get him Friday,
Oh, awesome.
which is nice
Really?
to see. Yeah, he the expectation is that Tyler McGill will be optioned to AAA. I think he has an option left, but he will be optioned to AAA if he has an option.
I see Tyler McGill to start, but that's probably
No, it was announced. The Como said Paul Blackburn, and that the expectation is that Tyler McGill will be optioned out of AAA. So we will get him again on Friday against the Angels, and he's someone that's actually pitched the Angels very well in his career. He sees them; they're in the same division. He's like a career 3.6 ERA against them. So hopefully he can get a nice start out there. Hopefully he stayed out west. He's acclimated. He's from Oakland, obviously, and he's comfortable pitching in that stadium in a new uniform.
Yeah, and he's going up against Tyler Anderson, who was someone we had our eyes on. So
yeah. Solid pitcher, but we hit lefties well. We have a good lineup for lefties. Lindor hits better from the right side. JD, Pete can hit lefties. Vientos masters lefties. So this could be a game where we could start off the series pretty well, especially against a lefty. And with a new pitcher taking the mound.
all right, Zach, what else we got?
That's about it. We'll reconvene later in the week, early next week, break down some more Mets games, some more upcoming games, and hopefully by then we've jumped up another spot or two in the wild card. Packed a few more wins on, and we'll see where we are.
Just stay in a playoff spot.
Exactly, stay in that wild card spot. We're in one now. Don't drop it. Don't leave it.
All right.
Give it
Until
up.
then, we'll see you all soon. Stay tuned to the social media accounts. We will always be posting when we're going live. Turn those notifications on. Subscribe to the YouTube at Sunny Days Media 516. Subscribe to us. It'll tell you when we're going live. So thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight.
Yep.
Thank
Thanks,
you for the
Stevie
guys in
Mac.
the comments.
Thanks, everyone else.
Yep. And we'll see you soon. Let's
LFGM.
fucking go Mets.